today is talk about optimizing microgrid operation plan under islanding uncertainty. It consists of 5 sections, and first we briefly introduce operation plan and islanding in microgrids. Power system consists of power generation, transmission, and distribution system, which are intended to meet some locally and temporary electricity demand. In the power system, operation plan is to schedule generators, example for hourly, from 1 day to a week earlier. It is because the generator has physical characteristics, so it cannot change its generation amount or state quickly. The unit commitment problem is well-known optimization problem in operation planning. Microgrid is a specialized form in power system, and it consists of localized generators and loads and energy storage systems and some else. This usually connected with main grid or other microgrids, and it can get benefit from transacting power, such as selling surplus power or buying insufficient power. But it has ability to disconnect and can operate as an independent system, and because this islanding of a microgrid. To tell more precisely, when a contingency in main grid occurs, the microgrid operator can disconnect from it, and it can protect its components by spreading from external accidents. And it can also reconnect with main grid. These islanding events can sometimes be scheduled, but in the perspective of microgrid operator, it can usually be unexpected. And also, islanding events can also be interpreted as a contract between main grid operator and microgrid operator. This increases its reliability of microgrid, but when making an operation plan, this event is not considered. It can cause significant cost damage. So when making an operation plan, islanding uncertainty must be considered. The unit commitment problem is well-known NP-hard problem, and this is proven to be strongly NP-hard recently. So far, uncertainties in microgrid are dealt with mainly with renewable energy resources, such as wind power generation or photovoltaic generations. The optimization models are mainly categorized as stochastic model or robust model, by which whether to assume is under uncertain parameters, probability distribution or not. Islanding events are not fully studied in the literature. There are some ways to deal with uncertainties, such as adding reserve constraints or using storage systems, and some of them are suggest scheduling phase. Today we propose is more generalized model when about islanding events that uncertain occurrence time or duration are both considered. This model is based on proactive strategy that each scenario's operation plan is established in advance, and we formulate this to the multi-stage stochastic optimization model. This model usually is computationally intractable, so we also devise decomposition approaches and heuristics. Next, we will show 2 formulations, and first one is basic formulation with no islanding. We consider microgrid with generators and wind farms and battery energy storage systems. There are some operational constraints such as reserve or power balance or some operations, and the objective is to minimize total operating cost in a planning horizon. We call this model, basic model, as MOP, which is abbreviation of microgrid operation plan. The objective function consists of power generation and transaction cost and a load shedding cost. The constraints are power balance constraints and maximum transaction limit between main grid and microgrid. And these are operation constraints of generators and operational constraints of energy storage systems. And finally, these are reserve constraints. We made this, based on this, we made learning uncertainties into a mathematical model. We said that each learning events can be decomposed to unit learning events that occur in a basic time period like this. And we set a parameter n that there can be maximum n time period in entire planning horizon, and 4 scenarios are generated. For example, when n equals 3, there can be learning events like this. Each scenario has its learn set time period of learning and also corresponds to its probability. This is illustrative example when maximum 3 time periods of learning occurs in 4 time periods of planning horizon. First, we call scenario S0 or base scenario, in which learning does not occur. And each scenario has learning time. Yeah. We also define two relations between 2 scenarios. We call one is the other's parent if its learning set is subset of the other, and only different is last learning time. In the example, S1 is parent of S2 and S5, and S5 is parent of scenario S6. We also denote that scenario subset DI that scenarios that learning occurs just exactly I times. When constructing multi-stage stochastic optimization model, non-anticipative must be considered. So we said that for each scenario, its commitment decision follows its base scenario, and for the other scenarios, for the other decisions, it follows its parent until its last learning occurs. In the basic model, there are reserve requirement constraints, but in the stochastic model, the constraints are relaxed because reserve is implicitly modeled. Whole formulation is in the appendix, and we show here in the compact form with variable x represents base scenarios and variable y regarding the other scenarios. The whole formulation of considering learning scenarios is to minimize expected cost subject to operational constraints and non-anticipative constraints. When considering learning scenarios, the number of variables and constraints are multiplied by the number of scenarios, and the number of scenarios are exponential to the length of time periods. So it motivates us to use decomposition approaches. Before we said that regarding variable x, we first decision variable x, and second decision we decide the remaining scenarios. Instead of solving more problems at a time, in the Bender's decomposition, master problem and sub-problem are solved collectively. When the master problem's incumbent solution is obtained, the corresponding sub-problem is solved. Sub-problem is deciding the other scenarios operation plan when the base scenario's operation plan is determined. It is also, we can see, this is always feasible because in the power system, we assume that demand is always curtailed with penalty cost. We also observe that this has binary variables, but we can get same objective value if we solve a linear relaxation problem. This is for flow chart. For each iteration, master problem is solved, and sub problem is solved, and optimality conditions is checked. Along the basic decomposition approach, we modify this approach. In the basic approach, one subproblem is considered, but we observe that can be also decomposed to several subproblems. SI means scenarios that first landing occurs at time period I. What is a little different from the former approach is only that multiple cuts can be generated in one iteration. One of the drawbacks of Bender's decomposition is slow convergence at the end of algorithm. So we devise simple heuristic that in each iteration, dual bound and primary solution is obtained, and if this ratio is within the pre-specified tolerance, the algorithm is terminated. Yeah, this is our computational results. We get microgrid configuration from two referring to papers. These consist of 4 thermal units and 1 battery energy storage systems. And also, our demand data and price data are obtained from forecast data of TJM, which is in the US, and also scaled to microgrid environment. Before post-analysis, we compared our proactive strategy with 5 responsive strategies. We call responsive strategies that making operation plan first, and when a contingency occurs, the plan is partially adjusted for remaining planning horizon. Among 5 strategies, 1 is without reserve constraints, and 4 have reserve criteria like this. We conducted with maximum 2 time periods of landing in the 20-hour planning horizon. We coded all the experiments we calculate 3 costs. One is base cost when landing does not occur. One is expected cost of 4 scenarios. One is the highest cost of all scenarios. When focusing on base cost, the no reserve strategy is cost efficient because no landing actually occurs, but it is inefficient when landing actually occurs. So we found that our strategy has best when considering landing scenarios. We also conducted various experiments regarding to change of base electricity price, and we also found that our strategy has always the lowest cost. In the model, our model does not have reserve requirement constraints, but it has actual reserve ratio, reserve amount, and it will cope well with various situations. Next, we compare solution approaches. One is without decomposition approaches, and 2 are decomposition options. Recall that in the basic version, 1 subproblem is considered. In the vertical version, multiple subproblems are considered. The experiments are held in 7 groups of size of instances, and 3 of them cannot be solved by extensive formulation approaches because of bigger size and lack of memory. For each instances, the time limit is set to half an hour, and we extracted computational time and iterate number of iterations and number of total cuts. We first compared 2 decomposition approaches. When compared with basic decomposition approaches, multiple approaches has little iterations and more cut generated. And when compared to computational time, it is shown to superior than basic approaches. Finally, we compared extensive formulation approach and multi-cut approach, decomposition approach. When the size is small, extensive formulation approach is superior than the decomposition approach, but when heuristics are applied, it is comparable to the extensive formulation approach. When the size grows in the red dashed line, it cannot be solved by extensive formulation approach. So our decomposition approach are very useful. We today proposed a model with a proactive strategy, and it is shown to be cost efficient when R&D occurs. Also, we devised decomposition approaches and heuristics, and it is comparable to conventional approaches when dealing with larger site problems or heuristics are applied. There will be future directions regarding speeding up the decomposition approaches and considering other uncertainties such as wind power generation or audit of generators. Yeah. Here's our references, and thank you for listening.